Here we go for the Magic Secret Show. We'll start with Lord's Prayer. We'll go from there. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. And for thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. All right, here we go. Magic Secrets. Tip of the cap to oh, we got Jeremy on as well. Okay, so we'll do a bit there as well. So let's make him a panelist. Great. So let's see the order of things. So here's what we'll do. We'll lead off with magic and gaming, and I'm going to try to reserve the last 10 minutes or so to work with Jeremy on some OMG stuff. I think it'll be really nice for everybody. And it'll certainly be nice for Jeremy. So that will be fun. So Jeremy, you can kind of prepare for that. We'll try to get to that around 50 minutes in. We'll keep today pretty tight. I've got it was funny. I was watching McAfee and just before the show started, and they were saying that Adam Schefter is one of the guys that have come on the show. Is starting 6 months worth of renovations, and I just realized, wow, we're wrapping up 6 months worth of renovations here. So there'll still be some banging and some stuff in the background, but today may be the last day, or maybe they'll be wrapping it up next week on Wednesday, but we will see. We're kicking off in earnest the second year. It's our second year of Magic Secrets. And so great play testing. Tip of the cap to Smitty, really leading the way, working a bunch with first with Bryn last week, and this week he was working a bunch with Dan, with Dan Burdick, the former, essentially the head of the player experience for Wizards of the Coast, one of the people who really helped shape and define the current way that Magic is created, and how fun it is, and at least the fun side of things, of course, when things kind of get a little wacko, a little out of balance. But anyways, we're really blessed to have him in our group, and it's a tremendously helpful. How are you doing today, Smitty? How's the testing been going? Let's get some of the early reporting from Smitty, and then we'll figure out how we'll carry out this episode from here.
Oh, for sure. We played a lot of games. Bryn recorded a lot of games. The results with the
Arabella. You know what? You know what we need to do? That makes me realize, Bryn, we need to find a way. What we'll do is the additional games that you guys are testing, they're really precious, and right now they're disorganized. Like you're not disorganizing them, but they're inherently disorganized until we organize them. So Bryn, we need to work something out where the idea would be where you could just upload videos directly and have a playlist. So that's an aspiration. We'll get to it sometime soon, but it'd be good if on our Magic Secrets channel that we had distinct playlists that when Bryn's doing them, and he can kind of put those up and so forth, and they can just be put up any old time. I think people will actually really enjoy those, and then the more we have those kind of organized. Also, Bryn could just do all the stuff that should be getting done for the podcast that are just not getting done whatsoever. Like my descriptions now are like Happy New Year is my description these days.
Yes,
been so busy with getting
that Bryn did do some playlists, so I don't know.
Well, yeah, I know, but that's on a separate channel. So what I need to do is get everything like in one place. So it's sort of like, and we'll do all that kind of stuff to get we'll get a kind of a cool animated intro and stuff like that. I mean, I'll make this all look. Believe you me, I can make this all look very, very cool. Right now, we're just getting the nuts and bolts together. You put lipstick on a pig. You got to pick a pig with lipstick. So I'm good with lipstick, but I'm not a fan of working with pigs. So oh, Lawrence is on. Wonderful. Never the same without Lawrence. Actually, before I get started with Smitty, let's check in with Lawrence first, because we haven't talked to him the last episode or two too much.
Hello.
Always a little bit too much of an afterthought. So Lawrence, I want to begin the episode with you. How are you doing, man?
Pretty good, pretty good. Excited to start the new year.
Yeah, yeah, it's been a long time. We're year number two. We were talking about getting things a little bit organized. Maybe Brent will, we got to get Brent access to the YouTube channel so he can start uploading some of these videos that he's creating, getting things kind of organized in a way. And then of course we've got to get the Magic Seas website up.
Okay, yeah.
And really make it look great, and then kind of cross-organize things. So make it like once between the website and then this group, this group is sort of the heart of things, right? Kind of particularly revolving around Smitty, and you kind of see, without Smitty there,
No,
we'd either be kind of stagnant in a certain way,
negative.
or just dead, or just kind of gone. Like I could kind of do some of the things that Smitty does for us to kind of maintain things, but then I can never grow us. But so Smitty's doing things in a way that really, you see it this week. We just have something specific to talk about. Like my eyes were on Magic, but I didn't play very many games this week. And yet we're gonna have a thorough, like really, really nice teched out show. We're getting Michael ready for the Spotlight Series in Atlanta. I take that very seriously. Really want to do a good job for him, and so on. And so, yeah, I just want to start by checking in with you, Lawrence. How's work going, and how's gaming going?
Both pretty good. My focus has been like a bit zooming out a little bit more on like law of implication stuff, and then kind of seeing how the gaming and the work stuff all adds into it. But yeah, seeing what's been happening in the group has been energizing, to say the least, right? Kind of keeping track of everything, and I'm what's coming together for Michael, and like the data and the experimenting, everything seems very useful. I can see contrast versus him having this information and it's like not even comparable almost. So
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, it's what I can say is that David Mills' way of doing things is to test a very few games very carefully, and really think this through. So for example, in Magic drafting, other people would measure progress by saying, oh, I did this many drafts and maybe I won this many drafts. Like, oh, I did 20 drafts and I won 15 of them, right? And that's what you would hear. Like you'd get to the Pro Tour and go, yeah, well, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm confident, right?
Mhm.
Because you hear them, they'd be, and we might have done 3 drafts. I mean, they might have done 40, 50, right? We might have done 3 or 5, right? But then we would save the decks from that draft, right? Other people, they would be like halfway through the first draft, they would be starting another draft, right? With the people that had lost in the first round and some new people, and so sort of a hurricane, right? I'm not saying that necessarily, but that was a very real thing that would go on. Like if someone's going to come to the pro tournament and say, I did 40 drafts, right? Well, drafts can take you a couple hours to play at least. And you've got to organize people forward and so forth. And so to do that, you're going to have a little bit of a buzzsaw mentality, unless you've just got a regimented pro team that's just ready to get together and meet at certain times. But even then, I mean, 80 times, it's gonna be an enormous amount of time. We would spend, again, we would do like 3 to 5 drafts, and and we would save the decks from those drafts, all of them, and continue to play them against each other, learn the insights from them, right? And especially develop an ultimate deck that we were going to go after, and really start to understand the cards from that, that can be played in it. Because by the time we play in the pro tournament, I would know from David how many 1 drops, how many 2 drops, do I want ideally, it'd be, say 2 to 4 1 drops, or 2 to 3 1 drops, and then 3 to 5 2 drops, and then he'd be very specific which 2 drops we wanted. Like, I mean, which creatures when I say 2 drops, and then 3 drops, and so on. and so I would know very, very specifically. And then by the time it came to draft, to be a professional drafter, Magic drafter, then I would open a pack of cards. Other people are going through this whole creative process, all these thoughts, right? Oh, I'm going to build this deck. I'm going to build that deck. Not me, right? Not me. I knew what deck I was going to draft,
Okay.
right? I
So
knew
a
what deck I was going to draft.
example,
So, and I can explain this. So we did Area 51 Lifestyle. We got over 1,000 testimonials from mostly from men, but some from some women as well, in the dating world. And they really never seen anything like it. It was really incredible for people. You know, I got some very powerful ones, you know, tearjerkers for me. And it was the same type of thing, like with Mystery, when, well, first of all, I'll tell you one thing we taught with infield video. I'll tell you that one thing. We taught with infield over the shoulder video, right? I mean, we did, bottom line, and we did it. You can't say we didn't do it. It was 2007. It was the first year that YouTube was a real thing, 2007, 2008, you know, and there we were with, I mean, you can see there's a clip right on the WWE Area 51 Lifestyle YouTube channel. You can see me and Mystery talking about him in field. Like it was right before, it was right as he was flying out to be on Conan O'Brien. And he was, you know, heading out to fly out to New York, where Conan used to do a show. Billy was directing him, and Billy Valentina. And you know, Mystery and I were sitting there, you know, with over the shoulder video of him going infield, walking up to girls, you know, saying hi, what happens next, and you know, and so forth, and discussing, well, you know, why did he do this? You know, why does he have his back turned? You know, why did he not, you know, looking like, and so forth, right? You know, what's going on? Well, we're seeing the advantage of the camera. We're seeing the, you know, the look on the girl's face, you know, and so on. So we can say, well, we know what's going on and we know what happened, right? And so we can do things very differently. When we did our product, we hired David, had Mystery hire and paid, and David paid for it, or we did, from, you know, we launched StomperNet. We hired these models. One of them was a Playboy model, and Mystery would demonstrate with them. And I mean, you know, they're real people, you know, like they weren't just, you know, sitting there like wax, you know, like Mystery talking to them and stuff like that. It was very powerful, you know, interesting. I mean, people loved the content that we created. So it was all this very over the shoulder kind of approach. And then to what? So like when Mystery was going to, and I, you know, I saw this, I was like, oh, it's just like magic. And that's an important lesson. Like, when he would go to a bar, let's say, or a party, he wouldn't see a group. I mean, he would see a group. He had that distinction that there was a group. He invented something called group theory, which was very smart. The point is, the specific point was, you didn't want to see it. It was not useful. And Smitty can talk about this. Smitty understands this stuff. And we had the baseline of this training stuff. So like we had the videos to pull from, and so we could coach. It made it a lot easier. You know, we could do it ourselves and we could coach. But you wouldn't see a room, like let's say there's 100 people in a room. You don't see it as a masses. It's just totally, it misses the point. I mean, you're gonna be completely off. You can't talk to 100 people as if they're one masses. Hey, masses, do this. You know, it's like, what? You know, no one's gonna even listen to you, right? Like, I mean, give me a break. You know, some lunatic jumping up and down, screaming, or you know, who knows? Maybe 3 people listen to you. Who knows? But what do they listen? What does that mean, right? So no, but do also, someone could say, well, they're all individuals, and maybe that's a distinction, and maybe that's even better. I mean, it'd be better than, it's certainly better than saying, oh, it's masses, right? I mean, well, but then if you had somebody who just was this completely narrow focus like that, first of all, they'd be just completely lost, right? There's 100 freaking people there, and they can, right? And if they just tunnel in on people, what's going to happen is they're going to, I mean, simply bump into people, for example, right? I mean, just literally physically bump into people.
Yeah.
Because they wouldn't just be socially aware. They'd be like, no, I'm right? And so that we already know that doesn't work from Jump Street. That's why you see it as a group in the first place. Because if you zoom in overly narrowly, right, then you're screwed. So what do? You're screwed, right? No, there is an answer. There is an answer. There is a semi-soft lock, right? The semi-soft lock is group theory for this type of thing. But it really matters, actually. Group theory utterly matters for every social dynamic. So what it is who'd you come with, right? Who did they come with? And making in your mind a circle, Mr. We talked about this, a circle around those people. Oh, Lawrence came with Bryn. Okay, Mike rolled in here with Theory. That's cool. And now they're hanging out together. Got it. Right. And now I can make sense of it. Oh, yeah. Lawrence knows Bryn from back in the day. Mike and Theory just met last week, but but they came in there hanging out together. Oh, okay, got it. Right. And literally the first meaningful question that Mystery would ask is, how did you guys meet? And why does this matter? Right? Because it's entirely different than what?
Yeah.
Locking in on the person and pretending like that person doesn't have what. Now that maybe you're very exciting to that new person, right? But that doesn't mean that they don't have what other social obligations, right? So, hey, maybe this is a party. Maybe they were waiting to meet up with these people for months, right? And they were excited to meet up with these people for months. And yeah, it's cool that they're meeting you, and maybe you'll wind up being a big part of their night, right? But you still got to work in, right? And it can be great. That can totally be great. But for example, if you one or more people in the group all of a sudden see you hogging up all the limelight and it's spoiling their time, right? Well, why would you do that? And Mr. wouldn't. He would make things fun for everybody, right? I mean, he'd be entertaining everybody, literally everybody. He would do magic tricks and stuff like that for everybody, right? And it'd be fun. You know, people would report people who hung out with him. You know, I had friends who hung out with him. They'd be like, yeah, it was fun. Like, that's the secret. It's fun. And, oh, okay, great, it's fun. But my point is, you're able to like look at that. Okay, so now we have something relevant, right? You look at this seeming mob, right? We know there's individuals. First of all, it's a mob. Don't believe that when your brain says it. Okay, great. And this is a lot like with Magic. When you're first learning how to play Magic, you would just build like 100-card deck and have no idea what's going on. You just don't have control over your own body. You hardly even know how to draw the cards and play the cards. You're like fumbling around with them or clicking around. You just don't know. You don't have control. Okay, cool. That's one like level of, where you're starting. And then, now all of you guys are really good at Magic. All of you guys could play in a tournament, could win a tournament. And so forth. More than half of the people on the show could easily play pro Magic. Maybe most, if I'm not stopping and thinking about it, but probably almost everybody on the show could even play pro Magic. Not that they want to, or have the concentration or wherewithal to sit for a whole day and a whole tournament and not make mistakes and so on. But they could train. They had the makings of it and so forth. And so there's certainly that feeling. So as a player, what we've done is we've shown how to winnow down, how do we narrow down on the decks that we want to play, not all the decks, right? We just try to talk. Now we're aware of the big decks, right? We're aware of the big decks that are out there. We're not like blindsided, but we're mostly focused in on a very few decks. And then we're really understanding those decks really, really nicely, right? And it leads to a good experience for us. And we understand things really, really well from this vantage. And we're able to make good choices, and this is how we do it. So in the same way, instead of like looking at that room and seeing a whole glob of people and being intimidated, right? Instead, no, and by the way, just stop and realize most of those people are intimidated. They're just with their clinging to their little group like a life raft, right? And you can help them. You can do the next big thing. And the big thing that all the great PUAs would do, Neil Strauss would do, I went out with him a number of times actually, Mystery, they would introduce people. Group theory, merging sets. They would, and why? Because it's valuable. Oh, I met, I met Bryn over here. Hey, Bryn, have you talked to Theory yet? Oh, you guys haven't met yet? Oh, damn, you guys both have so and so in common, right? You might say, well, how can I remember all these things? Okay, good question. Good question. How do we remember all these zany Magic cards? right? You guys all have amazing recollection. Of course, almost none of us, we could probably add together, probably each of us knows about 7 card names, something like that each. Like if you pull together all of the cards, we probably know about 100 cards altogether. But but yeah, but we know the card, but the meaningful cards of standard Magic play, we really know them. We know them up and down, and you have them not just memorized, but you know importantly how they interact, how they change tempos of games, how they, like the board wipes, the cards that destroy all creatures, for example, almost all of them, and you know how they work, and you suspect them, for example. When you're playing against somebody and they're just sitting there just doing nothing, you're not like, hey, all right, let's go. You might run at them, right? But you know you're running at them. You might say, okay, I'm gonna run at this guy. If he's got it. But if he doesn't, he's that, right? And you're aware of it. Okay. So these are distinctions that you see. So what that's like for your brain is all this data, there's all this stuff that's going on, but you're able to circle, there's certain decks that we're doing. Okay, got it. So these certain decks we know, and what are we doing these decks? We're trying to, why did we pick this deck? We have this kind of semi-soft lock theory. So we're, kind of doing that, and that's how we're winning games. We're focusing on certain high value cards, certain high value interactions that are, certain cards that really, blaze a trail for us. Mr. Green, the Cub is a big one. Of course, with the lessons deck, there's lessons itself and so on. Theory himself is a poster boy for success with this stuff. Writing Mr. Green to all kinds of success and so on. Because otherwise, someone can say, well, just think more. Well, you only have so many hours a day. That's the first thing that David said in Magic Secrets, right? You only have so many hours a day, and in that time, you only have so much energy, and we want that to bubble up, right? We want to be motivated. We want to do a great job and get good at strategy and get good at the practical application of it. So it's enjoyable. It's awesome. We just get better at it, more like a fish to water. So like I'm saying, like Mystery, when he's looking at people, he's seeing like a group that came together, right? Oh, these people came together. First question he's going to ask, how did you guys meet? Right? Super powerful question. And when you're merging sets, you want to repeat that information so they don't have to, right? And then people are amazed. You say, well, how do you remember all this stuff? Because it's important. Because you don't have to focus on everything else. It's the only thing you need to do. Like if I'm meeting people, the only thing that's going on is names, where they from, how they meet. Maybe what they do, but if they get into that, right? And they might, and they do, right? If it's networking, business, sure, you get into that, right? But there's nothing else going on. Nothing. I'm not sitting there like, oh, damn, is she tossing her hair like this or that? I mean, you can, right? Some guys do, but I mean, have some basic sense, pay attention. Like, and you be humble. You don't really know what things mean anyway. Like, really, you really don't. Like people will really, really, really in social situations, business situations, really want to fight people. And it's a fool's errand. It's not because it's because it's a rock that can't be lifted. Like the thing that they're trying to do, the person, there's no person that's going to be eternally motivated to keep doing the same thing forever and have the same conditions to do so. It just, life doesn't work that way. So when people feel like they've got someone else pegged, now, can you look to me and David, for example, for burning curiosity, for trying to get the world straight and right, and get all the way to the solution to things and really succeed? Yeah, for sure. There things that you can really see people's vectors, right? Where you can really see the train tracks, and they can be really thorough and rich and deep and clear, and all of the context of their life can be built around. You're like, oh, okay, probably, like, for example, I'm not probably going to break out and start DJing, even though, like, if I go to a music festival, people just stop me right and left. You DJ, right? And I have some very, very, very tiny musical aptitude in some ways, perhaps, but no, like, I mean, no, it's not going to happen. Not even, it doesn't interest me, whatever. Like, I don't want to competitively fight. I know Zuckerberg wants to fight or something like that. I want to do it, and I'd be almost certainly fantastic. I mean, fantastic. I beat a two-time All-American when I was a junior at JMU. So there's no question. But there's no way, and I just have no interest. But for law of implication, bring that to fruition, that's a clear, deep, entrenched train track. And I'm trying to make it easy for other people to have that, and then have their own life, come in on them. And OMG was the first wave. I mean, this is the second wave. It's not going to be the same as the first. Just like when David and I first did, we won all the Magic tournaments, right? But then we weren't like, okay, that's it. That defines us. David had us on to the next, the next thing that we could level up from there, and we then started doing the business stuff and really started rocking it in business and getting some things with our personal life straight and so forth. And look, we get back to games just fine. Play games just fine. We're not, you can't say, like, oh, aren't you missing out? And what about friendships? Geez, are you kidding? I have great friendships and love the gaming. I'm getting at all of it. I mean, they say you can't have your cake and eat it too. I mean, meet David Mills, you can. So yeah. So what you've got is a situation where you want to be able to narrow in on information and understand it. So then playtesting then is not about, like, reps is not it. It's not the answer. It's besides the point. It's a waste of energy. It's undisciplined. It's not teaching you anything. Bad practice is not practice, right? It's just not. While we're getting a sense of things, playing games and so forth, that's great. But when we narrow into really, when we have a goal, right, and we want to help Michael get ready, like if we're trying to prepare by ranking in Arena, yeah, playing in Arena is a great way of doing that, right? Like, we can just play in Arena, but I can't prepare Michael just by playing Arena. Like, oh, I could be number one in Arena, right? And legitimately so, but they're just a very different mix of people, and it just happens a different way. It occurs a different way than a tournament that people go out to and fly out to, and fly all the way to Atlanta or fly to Orlando and so on. They're going to have just different choices. They're going to choose different decks. In this metagame, like, I wouldn't send Michael in with Mr. Green right now with what I know, and that's because Bryn really exposed that. Like, hey, we don't want to walk in the lessons right now. Don't really have an answer. Right? Rather than trying to stretch and find an answer, Michael loves red white anyways, and wants to do this kind of token Boros approach that we'll be talking about. But yeah, so that's gonna be a great approach. I think that's a 60-70% winner against lessons game one, and now today, when we get into some a little bit more specifics of Magic in the next few minutes here. But this has been a fantastic lesson we've gotten into today, and it's going to help us as this episode continues and as the series continues. We want to be able to. This is David's way of doing things. So like I said, with mystery, it would be like, you'd see who these groups were, you'd introduce the groups to each other, and you become, in doing this, intensely valuable, right? And you really are. I do this at anyone who's been with me, to one of my live events. Brandon Lawrence have, Smitty certainly, knows that I live this. I'm constantly introducing people, constantly, like, in a very deep, vested way, and I'll almost kind of reintroduce. I really don't do it at a surface level. I'm looking for dots to connect, mini projects to come together, the popcorn to come together, whatever, whatever it is with that. Are you okay? You need this? You sure? Okay. All right. So great. So let me just take care of something really quick. Smitty, I'm sure you have many things to say about what I was just talking about, and I'll be right back in 30 seconds.
I do have a few things to say about what you're talking about. One of the things that Mike was talking about with mystery. Let me grab my notes here. First of all, Lawrence, your hair and beard look amazing today. So shout out to you. After I still to this day always often use a slightly different phrasing. Like, how do you guys know each other? It just works, and introducing people is great. Mystery used to always focus on making more statements than asking questions, and he is who he is. Neil is who he is, and Spear is who they are, and they had a different end goal than Michael, David, and I, which they were more into the pickup society, but we could still learn a shit ton from them, and the way that they interacted in groups, especially. So I guess that's all I have.
Smitty, you're right. Mystery did like lead a lot, but he was the one who taught me to ask the question, how did you guys meet each other? I mean, he would always leave with that question, and it's just so valuable. Can you explain like what the difference between those two things? Because it's going to come up again and again in business. Like, for example, when you're talking agency, you want to know as much about how the business that you're taking them on, like the more you know about how the client that you're taking on, how the dynamics work of their team, and just how to navigate that, nicely and quickly, just figure out how it works. And I don't mean who's the boss so I can work the boss, right? Like, well, I figured out she's the one with the real power, so I get a favor from her and she gets done. Yeah. I mean, maybe. Okay. I mean, that kind of stuff can happen. It can come up. It really can. But I'm talking much more about like, hey, what's the organization of this business? How does it work? Generally, how do they meet? Generally, what's going on? Right. And that's a real power to it. And there's a real respect to it. And I have that stuff at my fingertips. It's important to me. Right. People's associations with one another are very important to them. Smitty, please continue. I think what you're saying was very valuable.
Oh yeah. So I was just saying, like, our end goals, and there's a whole like plethora of information from David on this. Our end goals were a little different. I would say Mike and I and David's than Mysteries and Spears and man, the little Indian guy, and Strauss, what was the little Indian guy's name? Like Rambo or something? He'd like pick people up and shit.
Matador.
Matador, yeah. Like he was a wild man. So anyways, but yeah, I mean, like I still constantly, if I'm in a group setting, especially when I don't know a bunch of people or know none, I always use how do you guys know each other, and definitely introduce people constantly. If I'm
and it's not hard. It's easy. I mean, it's just idiotic not to do it. Like if you were forced to watch yourself not ask that question and introduce people, wouldn't it just be excruciating?
I know I do it almost every Thursday. I try to make this one particular wine tasting with my friend on Thursdays and make sure everybody in the room at least has some contact with each other. And
but that's fascinating because it's like, but that was a skill that you learned and applied, like, with the PUA stuff, but that just like manna to you. Like you just would never even do things a different way at this point in your life. You would never do that. Is that correct?
It's kind of second nature now, yeah.
Yeah. But that's a fascinating habit to discuss. And again, that all comes from, so when Smitty's seeing a room, it's correct that he's expecting these three people probably came together, maybe, right? Or maybe not, right? Like, but he has that curiosity.
Couples, how they know each other. It can be obviously a couple, like maybe even married or whatnot. Oh, how do you guys know each other? And they kind of giggle and like, oh, this is my wife, blah, blah, blah. Cool, where'd you meet? Blah, blah, blah. And I'm Jason, yada, yada.
Yeah.
It's my friend Ben, and we come here often and yada, yada. What do you think of the camera?
And then it naturally rolls into, oh, and this is Stu, and this is Fred, and this is, and it's extremely valuable. It's exactly how to network. It's exactly how, and because it is the right way to interact with humans. Like what we're saying is not, it's not like a it was in How to Win Friends and Influence People. He would tell you to spam the other person's name. So you'd be like, Lawrence, how are you doing, Lawrence? Man, Lawrence, going good, bro. Lawrence, man. And it would be like, apparently people would just love it. They had never heard their name before.
You're the
So that would be more like a technique. What I'm talking about now is lifeblood. It's how things work. And if you're ignorant to this, you're not wrong, but you've been educated the wrong way. And this is one of the great things that we taught the world. Like I think that the PUA movement, I mean, in as much as it happened, you know, in as much as people were paying attention to what went on and what you could learn from it, then that idea, and I don't know who came up with it. I mean, you know, I know that Mystery, you know, kind of is popularized with, you know, having figured out group theory, and definitely would seem to be the guy that was behind, you know, like debriefing and talking about stuff. He was very much in favor of over the shoulder, and there were it was there was like Ross Jeffries that was out there. A lot of people that were much more theoreticians. That was much more about theory. Ross's stuff was much more about like kind of talking to waitresses, if that makes sense. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but just it was the type of thing you could control because you could, you know, chefs talk to you, and so you could do a better job talking to the waitress than not. And I'm not discarding it or not, but I'm saying a lot of what was out there would be like stuff that might work talking to a waitress, because then at least then you could practice it and stuff like that. Whereas Mystery was really going out and, you know, in West Hollywood and picking up, you know, movie stars and Victoria's Secret models and stuff like that. And he really was, you know, and they were having a great time. You know, the problem was that he would run out of content, and then it was literally what would happen. He would run out of content, and then he would have to go to the next person, because and that's where Smitty was talking about the David's approach, the after game approach, which is like you're kind of standing in a wholly different place. Like from an attraction standpoint, it's going to look very, very similar, and on a lot of levels, on a surface level, for like essentially for the first like 15 minutes or so, things are going to look very similar. The first, you know, couple hours is going to look very similar, but then long term, it's going to look very, very different, very, very, very different. I've had to listen to one of Mystery's breakups, and it's just excruciating. And he's practiced with that too, and he has and so forth. But instead, I'll tell you, it's much better to have, you know, a high value long term relationship. It's just much better, and long lasting friendships and stuff like that are built really well. So my point though is then to bring things back to Magic, then for our play testing, then we want that play testing to be very, very loving and very very cozied up. It's like, okay, we've got the relationship between this deck and this deck, and we want to understand it. And it's like there's a few decks we really want to understand that relationship and just get what's going on and open ourselves up to it, see what's happening turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, see what the different things that are going on. Now, Bryn, you did a bunch of play testing from that lens of what I just said, and Smitty was really guiding you through this meticulous type of play testing. Are you kind of seeing more about how we've been play testing things, you know, based on that, based on what I'm saying right now, based on kind of ideas I'm activating for you?
Yes and no.
Great.
I would say yes, as I've been immersed more. It was a little bit of like, not like a culture shock, but almost like that, for going from Super Fantasy Kingdom into Magic again.
Yeah.
And
but
then
you did so very quickly. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And for sure with Smitty's help and stuff, and with you highlighting like going through Super Fantasy Kingdom and stuff, for sure made it way easier. And I would say no, like the no part would be me playing like some different decks. So I play like 2 versions or 3 versions of Boros, and then also a Lessons deck. So it's like a little bit, so maybe if I had more time or if I had some more framework, but yeah.
And when you say no, what's the no part of that?
Kind of like being able to zoom in and live in kind of like one version of one deck for like multiple days.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to look at other decks in this case. Like I'm explaining, like we're still kind of basically centric to either Mr. Green or Boros style decks right now. Like we're just kind of, that's where we're at. But by zooming out a little bit like you are and like learning more about lessons and so forth, for example, let's just say that.
Mhm.
Because you really want to get to know the Nemesis deck of the format, the most, heavily played deck.
Yeah.
You're not learning less. And this is, guys, this is great. This was beautiful. You're not being less focused on a Mr. Green deck or on a Boros style deck, okay? But by learning lessons, you're actually learning directly. And this is not, this isn't some clever turn of phrase. When you see what I'm saying, you'll see it. It's physical connection that's clear, okay? You're learning more. So okay. My first thought when I was talking to Mystery, and okay, he explained to me, we were at a dinner table from David D'Angelo's thing. He was explaining to me that we were going to go to Saddle Ranch and this bar, and he was like, this is what we're going to do. And he explained what he was going to do and how he was going to do it. And it sounded a lot like a magic game, right? Like, or a strategy. So he was like, I'm going to come inside. It's a big flat top place so you can see all the way around. I'm going to find a seated two girls that are sitting together. I'm going to go over to them, offer them my arms. They'll gladly take it because it's fun and funny. I'll parade them around the room, and then I ask him, well, which one of them are you going to go after, right? And he's like, neither. And he pushes like that, neither. I'm going to drop them off. He did that, neither. Right? You guys felt it when I did that, right? So did I. Neither. My target is over there, right? I did this for her purposes. Right? And he's telling me this at dinner hours before. And the girl there wasn't a plant. He was just theorizing that there was going to be a girl, but there was a blonde girl there that he wound up talking to and, whatever with. But it was wild. I mean, he pried her out of a group of like 10 guys. It was wild. But it all started with him walking in, and getting those two girls and so on. Because the point was that his target would see him with these two girls. That's why he was doing it. So they would see it, right? So in that case, he's not getting to know less about his target, right? By talking to these two other girls. Does that make sense, Bryn?
Making it easier. Yeah.
He's making it easier, and he's what he's doing is, if you think about it, is he's mixing them, right? Like, I mean, by physics.
Yeah.
Okay. Just like if I played a drum beat, and then somebody started, doing another rhythm, like, Lawrence started beatboxing, whatever, right? And then he was, and then Bryn started humming, like whatever, right? Okay.
Sure.
We wind up with what was it in Wolf of Wall Street? Okay?
New OMG theme song.
But that's okay. So that's the basics of music, right? You're mixing these sounds. Okay. In the same way, you've got this, target, this girl that you're interested in. So you don't like lock in there and stare and wait and see if she just jumps in bed with you. Does that make sense?
Well,
Yeah.
Mr. also was like, he was not an ugly guy, but he wasn't like a Jake Gyllenhaal. He was an average
Right.
plus guy. Like,
oh yeah. Go ahead, Smitty.
no, I mean, it's just like, he had good face symmetry. He had a strong nose. He was decently tall, but then he would also wear those ridiculous shoes. What I mean is, like, he's probably like a 7, 8 on a dude scale. Like, nobody's gonna fall over, paws up just by looking at him. Well, maybe some will, but what I mean is, like, he had to accentuate. Well, he didn't have to, but he
We had to look smack. Yeah.
his positive features.
So yeah. So
Like
and
grabbing hold on, let me talk a little more.
please do. Yeah.
And because I had it in my notes, the stroll around the room. Like, if you can find if you're into this sort of thing, if you can find a round room with the bar in the center and just like you can literally approach a group or a twosome and just like walk them around. You're now the belle of the ball, and you don't even know how many people think you're the belle of the ball. So that strategy was always like it's at a minimum, you're going to draw attention.
Yeah,
And you don't
Smitty would walk into, we'd, like Smitty would walk up. I think Smitty usually opened, which, you know, the hardest thing, right? And he would walk up, and next thing I know, he would take like a girl's hand. There'd be two girls sitting together, and he'd take a girl's hand. She would put her hand up. He would take her hand. He would
the
spin the
squirrel.
girl around, and
The
Smitty would
squirrel.
sit down in her seat, and she would be
Squirrel kills it.
but then he would give her a seat back. He was just joking around. But then it was just a fun thing to do, and it wasn't necessarily at all because he wanted to jump in bed with that girl at all, at all. He might not even talk to the girl again, but everybody saw it, right? And so now you're mixing that with the rest of the room, like the rest of the room kind of see. And again, Smitty would do things in just a very fun, like very nice way. We had a friend named Edgar, and what Edgar would do is he would wait until somebody else had crashed and burned, and then he would swoop in, and that was his thing.
He was a swooper for sure.
He the swoop, right? Because but he would swoop in, and what, guys? He'd be fun, right? He'd be fun. And I'm pointing back to the dynamic of this. And so Bryn, with that playtest dynamic, okay, I know what it's like to feel like, oh, I'm learning my deck by playing it, by doing, yeah, I'm learning it, right? And I know
Right.
what the deck's like. I've played against it. I get it. But you don't. And I thought so too. So you learn so much, and it feels for a while, feel like, oh, am I being pulled off in a different direction? Right? Like, oh, am I being
Yeah.
confused here? Am I mixing my vectors up and confusing myself and am I retarding my progress?
Yeah.
Right. And I don't mean, you know, retarding, I mean like flame retardant, where you put like rubber on something and it, you know, slows down the progress of name it, whatever. So that's what I'm so what you're doing then in the playtesting process is you're zooming in on the deck, like, because what we need to do is the way to get the like I remember how David showed me about like business relationships, where with some people, for example, it would be up and down, and when it was up, I was so happy with them, but when I was down, I was so frustrated. And David's like, "Don't you realize this is happening again and again?" And I was like, "Oh, what's going on then? I don't have control, right? I don't know what's going on. I'm confused." And for David, it was so easy, and he showed me it's not what you're doing; it's where you're standing. I was like, "What do you mean?" Right? Well, from that vantage point, it's like if I was trying to take a picture of this, you know, this lamp that's right here, right? But if it's just not in the frame, I can't take the picture, right? Just can't do it. Okay. So what's the frame around? So he would show me like that, yeah, if I just look at the good times with that person and say, oh, that times are good right now, right? I'm gonna make a decision. This is great. Or things are bad. I'm gonna make a decision. Things are bad, right? I'm missing the context. So he would show me how to step back a little bit, and draw a little bit more, not too far back, not so far back that things become meaningless, but more of a sweet spot where I'd say, oh, well, what's a week look like with this person, right? What's it gonna look like? Okay, do I want that? That's it, right? If every week is gonna be this, do I want that? And if I'm picking it and then getting upset with it again and again, that's where you're really done. But I would do that. That makes sense, right? Let's say that Bryn predictably is going to go high and low every week, right? And he's going to kick ass Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and Thursday, Friday, Saturday, he's going to be worthless. Like his word's going to mean nothing, right? If he says he's going to do it, he ain't going to do it, right? He going to do it Monday, but then Monday he's going to do it, okay? if I'm sitting around every Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, then I'm an idiot because I'm not paying attention. Because Bryn, we already said Bryn's up Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, down Thursday, Friday. That's not true about Bryn. I'm just saying that if that was true about Bryn's actually apparently on all the time.
Apparently.
But anyway, yeah, we all go through good spells and so forth. So anyways, so what happens with this stuff then is for it to be useful and for it to be available to us, then in the testing process, we want to be able to then meticulously say, okay, what does that look like? What does that red-blue, that red-blue lessons matchup look like against Cub and Mr. Green, right? And just watch it. And if it gets obliterated and there's nothing for us to do, like let's see it, and let's see it in slow motion. Let's see it in detail, right? And understand it and slow down and get that, right? And be like, okay, cool, and embrace it. And at that point, I just say, cool, not the season, right? Switch to the other deck for now. Find a different way. Can I do it a different way? But also, Michael, what made it really, really simple is that Michael he want to play red white anyways, right? So what did I do? I just said, let's make sure we crush. Let's find a version. So I put things back on track by saying, see, you showed that let's just not do blue green at the moment. I can just wait a month. We're gonna in a week or 2 weeks, Lorwyn comes out and we've got new shock lands. It's all up for grabs again. Who knows what's gonna happen, right? There'll be new cards. I haven't looked at them yet, but whatever. So
lessons might get banned. Lessons also, I mean, if
lessons might get banned and so on, right? And we don't want to overly, yeah, it's true. And we don't want to overly, that's true. I'm careful with stuff like that because you don't want to lose creative tension.
Let me jump in real quick on the Magic. What I think the best strategy is for Freeman is because the decks you struggle against are green decks, and
right. So what he's more arrived at is more of a Bryn, do you have Michael's deck pulled up somewhere?
Not yet. I can pull it up.
Can you pull it up? And we'll have Bryn, when you're ready, we'll have Bryn share his screen. I'm not going to pull up my screen today.
Okay.
Smitty, unless you want to show your screen. Do you want to have Bryn do it, or do you want to do it, Smitty?
Please, Bryn. I don't know how.
Yeah, I thought you'd rather have Bryn do it. Great. All right, I'm going to make him a presenter. All right, go ahead, Smitty.
The final, I don't want to say the final, but the current strategy I think that's best for this deck this weekend is not to introduce blue, as good as it may be. I think it is to focus the board to beat green and to beat control, because we seem to thrash Lesson, and I think that's going to be your major matchup. And I think the next deck you're going to see is green.
Wait, what was it that you just said?
We seem to thrash Lessons.
Lessons, right?
And what we probably expect to see the most of. So ride that. But green and control are the most difficult matchups. And so I think the plan should be to have almost all of our board minus 3 cards, because we should definitely not forget about Reanimator, because that'll be probably the next deck down the tier. So you're going to see Lessons, you're going to see many variations of Cub, and you're going to see Control and Jeskai. You may see a little Simulacrum, and yeah, because that's gotten a little bit of a resurgence as the format slowed down a little bit. So I think my advice would be to have like probably 6 cards each dedicated.
And how without blue are you gonna like kind of break controls back?
I think it's going to be Boros Charm and Sunspine Links, because Jeskai needs to gain life. That's their thing. They really need to gain life, and they play a lot of non-basics, and they rely. They don't actually have.
You're gonna flop down a 4-drop, and they're gonna.
They don't have as many counter spells as we think they do. They basically generally tend to have a couple 3-steps.
I mean, they should have 4 get lost, and they should have 4 3-steps ahead. You know, so that's the
They
kind of.
don't have 4 3-steps though. They're playing like 2.
Okay.
Uh,
So 2 3
and
steps.
No More Lies is their main counter spell. I could be mistaken.
But again, that's after sideboard. So now they're probably gonna have like flash freeze or something like that. I wonder if we can bring something down that's like also a creature they can just kill. I mean, you're right. You can't necessarily counter it, and I know that they'll take damage from their lands, but then they can just kill it. What I was thinking, my original thought, I know it doesn't work, was the white talent. We just don't create enough tokens for that to make sense.
I don't know what you mean.
It's the one that they play in token decks. It's where you first you draw a card every turn. What's that?
Caretaker's Talent?
Yeah.
It's like got a bunny on it. Yeah, okay. Well, that might be a fine.
That's not right. That's not right, but it's a direction. That's why when Dan showed the siege, I thought it might be worth looking at. Okay, so Bryn's got like a red white, whatever this would be called, tokens deck pulled up here. And Smitty, what are your notes on this deck? Strengths and weaknesses.
It's really cool. It's very powerful. I like it. I enjoy playing it. I think in my version, I favor not having Enduring Innocence main. Let me see if I can find that real quick. I know I have it right here somewhere. Sorry if the music comes on or something, I'll turn it off.
No problem. So I was just thinking, as you're saying that, Enduring Innocence seems like it'd be really strong against control, isn't it?
It's okay versus control.
Interesting.
Let me see if I can find sorry, maybe my notes are better than I thought. Sorry. Okay, so yeah, I favor the Shocking Sharpshooter over the Enduring Innocence, as it helps us go even faster. The 3 mana guy and we're also up to 3 Delny now, which is I probably think is correct. But we just don't have anything, and I think we should probably go to 2 Delcalvin encampments, as it's not often. It's like half the time a tap land for us, and bringing those 2 dudes in is huge. The Firebender Ascension is like the backbone of the deck. Torch the Tower is our best removal right now. We need to probably have Get Lost, Split Up, and 1 Authority of Consuls in the board. And that's kind of what I think about. That's of course versus green. And then versus control, I don't really have a good answer. My original thought was Boros Charm. Just save our guys, and it's very reactive and it's versatile. We don't have anybody we're really going to be like super looking to double strike with, but just surviving the Wrath is pretty important when you're playing 26 odd creatures or whatever.
Okay, and Bryn, can you pull up the siege? Because that's me talking. Some of the decks that we're afraid of, because I've played a ton of Cub. And this
This one, right?
Bluehead Siege. Yeah. Can you pull that up? All right, so Smitty, can you explain the idea behind this and why Dan brought it up?
Hold on one second. I gotta get back with you guys here. Somehow I've lost you. I can hear you, but I can't see anything. Darn it.
It's the Frostcliff Siege.
Yeah, Frostcliff Siege is something I put in the Cub deck a little while ago. That's not what we want. I'm so sorry, guys. I'm just bad at this.
Yeah, no problem. We just have a picture of Frostcliff Siege on the screen. So, why did you put it in the Cub deck?
Plus, yeah, the +1/+0 plus trample with a Bororoid and just in general, you've kind of got dudes and giving them haste is super sexy.
It actually sounds really good. Like what you're
Yeah.
saying sounds actually really, really good.
Oh my goodness, why can I not?
Yeah,
Yeah,
there have been times.
don't really worry about seeing the screen, Committee. But your idea about putting Frostcliff Siege
There
in,
it is. I'm back. I gotcha. All right. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah, Smitty, haven't there been times where we were playing Boros versus Control or Boros versus Cub, and you were at like 4 live or 5 live, where we're like, okay, well maybe if we had the Frostcliff Siege, you would have been to 0.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the thing about like, I love the control deck. Don't get me wrong. That's what if I went to Atlanta this weekend, that's what I'd play, and I'd probably have 3 draws. You know, on the first day because I play slow, but I love that deck. I think the thing I love is a singleton councils and probably maybe even 3 split ups versus the green. As we can
Green definitely does not want to see the split ups. They get a little bit of control from their insects. Their pollinators sometimes can help them get around it. You can't as easily, wipe their Orboroid because they can tap it. What's that?
You can't always wipe their entire board, but another thing to know in case anybody's watching and wants to play is Mike, you guys might all already know this, but you can thwart Jeskai Revelation by killing your own dude in certain instances. And it's totally worth it sometimes because you're like, okay, I'm going to win next turn as long as this spell doesn't.
So you can unravel the entire Revelation by killing your own guy sometimes?
Well, no, they have to return something, right? And if that goes away.
So you mean if you can counter both of them? Is that what you mean?
Sounds like just one.
Return. I'm sorry, I learned this from the Shahar guy. I was watching a game, and they bitter triumph their own dude, and it fizzled the spell. They didn't get in life. They didn't get the dudes.
That's crazy.
Sorry, they still got the 4 damage, but they didn't gain the life and they didn't get the dudes.
Spell or permanent to owner's hand.
Now, how that happened?
Now, which creature did it fizzle? Was it the one that like was it like it was bouncing a creature and then that creature was that makes sense.
I think
So
in this people they were returning a spell and targeting a creature. But I can't be honest, but I saw it happen.
Okay, so don't treat this as the official rule on it, but look out for that.
Yeah. The cool thing about the Boros deck is I think I probably thought about this a lot. I do keep the singleton song as it is so powerful with the Ascension and Arabella. And that's asking a lot, but like it's a singleton that can just pull you out of games that you're not going to win otherwise. And I thought a lot about going up to 4 Arabellas because she is the Bella of the ball for sure. Not against control, of course, but Voice of Victory is really kind of the bell there. So yeah, but versus just in general. So like your Torch the Towers are also like kind of like the Mindspring Merfolk of Atlantis Shuffle. Like they're the cards you're gonna love a lot of time, but you're gonna take it out a lot too. You know, they function super well against creature decks because you have all the tokens to sack. But they're absolutely worthless versus Jeskai. And they're kind of meh versus green, but you're going to keep them in anyway because Cub. Yeah, I think you need the split ups to get lost. I don't know if you need the consoles or not. I've run into a couple of life gain decks with this deck, and I won, like small sample size. But I don't, yeah. I think that's something that I would normally be afraid of, but I wasn't, and I just won. Yeah, maybe focus on the best answers for control, because I do think I do think a number of split ups in the board.
Yeah, split up seems deadly against green. I definitely feel it. You know, in theory, you played it enough to know that you don't want to see that. Okay, let's handle things this way. We're past the hour, and I've got construction sound, unfortunately, again. I wanted to get to more with we're working with Jeremy on some SEO stuff today. Might be a little bit difficult for us to do that, but at the same time, I'll try to push through just a wee bit right now. One of the things I was saying is that, you know, for this show, you know, we'll get Bryn working on, you know, maybe posting these playtest videos in channels and so forth, and that leads me to naturally thinking, well, we want a, you know, really great looking website. We want the website to correspond to things, to be organized in a way. Same thing for businesses. What businesses really need, they need the holy grail for a business. I got too much banging. It's the website. The holy grail for the business is that website, and everything revolves around it. You're going to organize everything around that website, and this is the way that things should be thought of right now. In like when we started OMG in 2014, when Theory joined, having a website was so impressive in the first place that if you just got somebody there, people would just root around and look for your phone number. They really would. They'd really try to contact you because, you know, it was wizardly to just have a website. It's like, wow. Now, not so much. You know, now there's a real banner blindness right on your website. Banner blindness is that, you know, with Netscape, when they first came out with banner ads, they had a crazy 75% click through. 75% of people that came to a web page and there was a banner ad on it would click on it. Now it's probably 0.001%. It's a very small percentage now. And they attribute that massive difference. They call it banner blindness. And it's a predictable effect of the human mind when the mind thinks it can filter something out that's not that important. It's old news, right? The website was not the place to make a stand in 2014. Right now in 2026, as we start, it is. And it's the holy grail. And we're going to be talking about more. OMG 2026 is going to be organized around that holy grail site. And who is that a site associated with? What are the associations of that website, Jeremy? Who is it associated to? Who made the site? Who does that person work with? Who do you trust these days? You say, well, you know, it's not who you know, what you know, it's who you know. Really, that's a big part of things in life now. And it's a massive trust signal, who you know. If we can have that built in, which we can, if we can have Billy Valentino from Conan O'Brien, directing your video shoots for your clients so they look like $1 million. Hey, for example, and working with big companies and so forth. SEO, we're doing SEO for giant companies that you know and trust. You go to the mall, you see them at the mall. You're like, wow, I love this company, or at least you or somebody in your family. That's why they're at the mall. Okay, that's what I'll say about that. It was a short bit, Jeremy. I wanted to do more of it, but Massive Bang will break out any time now. Great first episode for 2026. It's gonna be a great year. I can't even imagine where this show could be in a year from now, and how much we'll have enjoyed it in the meantime, and seen it thrive. No doubt we'll have that website and YouTube channel set up and so on, and that'll help us grow and thrive. But what a great start. I'm gonna leave the last few minutes here to anything that Theory wants to say.
Good show. There was a couple of good things that resonated with me, actually. I'm not going to go into it too much, because it would take a while. But at the start, there was a little bit of a mini breakthrough, I thought, with the approaches, where if you just focus on basically meeting them and introducing people and asking, what was it? Who are you with? And what was it, Mike?
How did you meet? How did you meet?
How did you meet? Yeah, and that's all you do, and then everything else kind of get done for you.
Everything flows there. Because it answers so many questions.
Yeah.
And other things don't, by the way. Other things can feel meaningful, but quickly become onerous, entangled, difficult to manipulate. Yeah.
Yeah, there was also the thing with the Monday to Friday. If somebody reliably on Friday, there was like mean anything, and then somebody gets upset or they don't factor that in. It's a bit like the Google algorithm, because for 12 years, it's going to be a Google algorithm, right? Every 6 months, every 3 months. And I've seen SEOs panic every time as if they didn't know it was coming. Well, if you're doing SEO, you're freaking out every time a Google updates happen. It's a bit of an issue because you know it's going to come in 3 months or 6 months. And if you're standing in the right place, because I think that was like what I said too, if you're standing in the right place with the Friday to Monday thing, Google updates are actually a good thing. I could go into why and stuff, like, because if you stay up to date and stuff like that, you'll be able to keep ranking. And then if it became too easy, then other people wouldn't. There would be too many people doing it, and I'd be who has the most budget, and be fighting against like massive corporations dumping billions of dollars, but they keep being weeded out.
And the massive corporations are coming to us because it doesn't work that way. You're right, Theory. That's why they're coming to us, because it's not just some tournament that's out there that's just a publicly posted auction for traffic. It doesn't really work that way with search.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think that's just my comments. So far, there might be a couple more things. Good show. I like what was said. And then, yeah, up the top, that's it for me.
Great episode. Great episode, everybody. Smitty, thank you very much. Thanks for leading this. Everybody, please. Smitty, crushing it for us, crushing it for Michael, and shout out to Tokyo Gary and to Michael. We appreciate you guys. Want to see you back on the show. I'm going to try to get Ryan on the show next week. We'll see if we can get him on. And great episode. Just something really special. This core that we're starting, building so carefully. People want to say like, oh, I have something that's built on rock, but what's the rock? This is the rock. Great job, Smitty. Appreciate you. All right, great job, everybody. I'll get this posted as quickly as we can, and we will see you next week for Magic Secrets. We'll be hearing back hopefully from Michael. Hopefully Michael does great in Atlanta.